So far as I have learned, over 20 countries have formally applied to become new members of BRICS. Countries ranging from Latin America to Africa to Middle East, and also Eastern Europe as well. And over 40 nations have expressed their interests in joining the bloc. So that number, a large amount of countries, they're actually wanting to get closer to BRICS bloc, represents what people really want in today's world. So speaking of that, this is a question for all of you. So why do you think we talk about like BRICS Summit, the reason why it's so attractive? So is there any specific country or which few countries attract your attention the most that they're interested in joining the bloc?
I'm looking at Iran and Saudi Arabia, most importantly. Why Saudi Arabia first? I think it's because of the issue with oil. It's a big producer of oil, and it has always been an ally of, or not maybe always, but it has been an ally of the U.S. And so now what we are seeing emerging is that it's gravitating away from the sphere of influence of the U.S. and now towards BRICS. So that will have an impact on the petrodollar, I feel. And so going forward, it will be interesting to see what comes out of the discussions in relation to Saudi Arabia. I think Saudi Arabia will be admitted into BRICS at this conference. I think along with Iran, because you can't have Saudi Arabia in and Iran, which is another applicant, not be included. I mean, if you look back at what has just transpired, where China brokered a peace deal between these countries, so it will make sense to have them both join BRICS. And also Iran is another major oil producer, so it also links to the petrodollar. So we are seeing major shifts happening here. This is why I said this conference or this summit in South Africa is bigger than we might maybe think. It is huge. We've had bigger summits of this nature, but this one is big because of the implication it has. The discussions or the decisions that will be taken there will have far-reaching implications going, especially the implications will reverberate around the world. And that's why the world is also looking at this conference or this summit, watching closely to see what happens. And the shifts are happening. And China, as well as Africa, Brazil, Russia, and all the countries that are interested in BRICS, they want change. This is what they are screaming or saying. They don't want to continue with the current order where only a few countries are leading the way and also leading the way in terms of benefiting their own interests, you know. And so everyone wants to benefit out of all this cooperation that is happening, and this is what BRICS is offering, and we'll see what comes out of the discussions. And yeah, I'm really excited, as you can see in my face. I'm excited about the prospects of what will come.
That's a very excited face indeed that I see over here. But you know, what I would like to add, I don't want to look at any specific country, but I want to underline that you know, I would like to agree with Pearl that we do see a geopolitical shift, so to say. But I'd like to underline that it's not just, you know, 40 countries suddenly pop up, you know, and say, okay, guys, we want to join the BRICS. This process has been ongoing. I want to remember the situation back in China in 2017. Where the BRICS Plus format was announced during the Chinese summit in Xiamen. Back at that time, 35 countries, developing countries, already said, yeah, we're thinking about joining BRICS or closely cooperating with this platform of 5 countries. So even back at that time, you know, 6 years ago, the interest, I say the margin of interest, the amount of interest, right? It was already huge. Back in 2017, we basically began talking about, I mean, since back at that time, BRICS already had 5 countries, and there were 35 countries who say we want to join or cooperate, people started talking about creating the so-called G40 for developing countries. And that's probably that's the road the BRICS is going right now, right? So yeah, I'm excited. I'm quite excited as well to see the development, and I'm pretty much sure that the development will be fast. And this summit in South Africa will be a serious booster for that.
But Konstantin, I have a question though. Do you think it will be too fast? Should they not maybe slow down in terms of the expansion?
All right, that's the ongoing argument. It's not going on just in BRICS. It goes on in a lot of other international organizations. The point here is, sometimes the intensive and extensive development, they just don't come together sometimes, right? It's either this or that. Because, why? It's quite logical. The more countries you get, the harder it is to reach the consensus, right? The harder it is to reach the new unity on some exact project, right? So here we're talking about, BRICS probably. It is very true. I totally agree with that. BRICS has to find some, as they say, harmony between intensive and extensive cooperation. This situation in BRICS is not something new. I mean, the same arguments are ongoing in other regional or global organizations. Take, for example, Shanghai Cooperation Organization. It is expanding right now, but before the very start of the expansion process, there was a very harsh argument between major countries of what should we do first. Should we actually deepen our cooperation, make it more effective, or should we include more countries? Because as we know, the basic principle of Shanghai Cooperation Organization and its decision taking is pretty much the same as in BRICS, which is consensus. And the more countries you get, the harder it is to reach the consensus. So in a lot of organizations like this, you have to find something like a golden middle. Like they say in China, it has to be hexia. Right, very harmonious. You have to find the balance between the extensive and intensive development. So, concerning that point, I don't think that we will immediately get 20 countries joining the BRICS at this summit. Right, probably this process will take some time. Of course, BRICS will expand. It has already expanded once from BRIC to BRICS, right?
Yeah.
It's a
matter of time.
Right. It's a matter of time, but surely, we shouldn't speed it up too much, because it actually can influence the effectiveness of the cooperation process within this platform.
So, I would like to propose a kind of a counter argument to this.
Right.
Sometimes the pace, we cannot set it. We have to respond to the geopolitical shifts, because it's shifting way too quickly right now. Because one of the countries that I'm watching, not necessarily included in the 40 applied or informally expressed interest, is France. Earlier this year, I believe the French president, through a middleman or some kind, expressed interest to come to this year's BRICS Summit. I think his foreign minister even shared his availability with the South Africans, but then for some reasons that we don't know of, he called it off. We all can guess what that is.
Yeah.
But let's be clear, it doesn't mean that BRICS are not welcoming all the other developed or industrialized countries. Yeah, I guess we don't know what's going on behind that, but clearly that shows...
I'm sure it's not about the fact that France is a developed country. Because if we look at the further development of BRICS, I think the basic principle of joining the BRICS is not like that you are still a developing nation. Because BRICS as it is, the founder nations of BRICS, they're developing really fast themselves. I'm more than sure that by 2035, China will be acknowledged as a developed nation. What, should it quit the BRICS? Of course not, right? So I think that the basic principle that to join the BRICS, you have to be a developing nation. It's not a basic one. It's not a basic requirement. I think it should be something else.
Yeah, and I think in France's case, I don't think it's trying to join because it's whether it wants to be developing or developed nation. I think it just wants to explore alternatives.
Like
exactly.
alternatives.
Yeah, that's true.
Back
it's
to
a different path
yeah.
from what it has been working in for decades. So I think that's what brings back to the pace question, the thing. I think, yeah, we're going to have to spend a lot of time discussing the mechanism, discussing how and when should we admit new members. But perhaps sometimes it's up to the whole international community's change. We have to follow that and respond to it.
Yeah.
France probably listened to Minister Wang Yi, who during his multiple visits to Europe underlined that Europe should try and find its geopolitical autonomy.
Or
Right.
France has been finding it for
the
while.
France so
For
far,
some time.
so far, France is the most active member
To
of
have
Western
its own
community
diplomacy.
in that respect. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we've been discussing like what benefits this BRICS bloc could potentially bring to developing countries and emerging markets. We've been also talking about the expansion of BRICS. Let's move on to something more leisure. Like we know South Africa, China, Russia, India, Brazil, they have advancement in their tourism sector. So, and also considering like tourism sector plays a very important role in these countries' economic development. So that being said, let's take South Africa for example, because
I'm looking at Pearl eagerly.
we have learned that actually before the pandemic, say in 2019, around 100,000 Chinese people would travel to South Africa every year. And now after, in a post-pandemic world, they're expected to see that number coming back. So Pearl, for people like from around the world, like who are interested in coming and visiting South Africa, where would you recommend us to go?
Well, we have many places in South Africa that people would actually be interested in. We have a coastline that is 2,800 kilometers long, which starts from Mozambique on the east coast, and then it goes around down south and back up on the east coast to where Namibia starts, our neighbor, another neighbor of South Africa. And there you can choose to go to Durban, which is on the east coast if you are into the beach life, you want to relax.
And also your hometown, right?
My hometown, yes. I'm from the city of Durban. Yes, I was born and raised there. So I can tell you all about it. The beaches, the lifestyle there in the townships, as well as the culture, which, I mean, it's a part of the world that is dominated by Zulu-speaking ethnic groups. I'm Zulu myself, and so you will learn about that culture, but we also have other smaller cultures like Sotho, and as well as the Indian community, a large Indian community in South Africa, people of Indian descent that are South Africans, and they live in Durban mostly, but they're also found in other parts of the country. And you can go inland also and enjoy the mountainscape of South Africa. We have beautiful mountains, the Drakensberg mountain, which gets some snow on some days or some seasons. And so you can go and hike up there. If you're not interested in that, you want to go to dip yourself in the Atlantic Ocean, because we have 3 oceans. We have the Indian Ocean on the east coast, and then we have the Southern Ocean on the southern tip of Africa, as well as the Atlantic Ocean. So most people go to the Cape Points, which is in Cape Town on the west coast. That's where they think it's where the Atlantic Ocean and the Indian Ocean clash. Yeah. So people think it's the 2 oceans fighting. I don't know about that.
That's romantic, actually.
But that part of South Africa draws a lot of tourists, people just coming to see this phenomenon. I don't know if it's true or not, but yeah, you can go there and have your foot in the Atlantic Ocean and another foot in the Indian Ocean. So it's amazing. But yeah, we have 11 official languages, plus the sign language has been added as the 12th language. And so you can learn about all the different cultures that we have. It's a melting pot of cultures. We are known as the Rainbow Nation. That's our nickname as the country. And so you can find Zulus, Xhosas, Pedi, Tswanas. There are a lot of cliques in most of our languages. So you can, most people find that interesting that we can do that.
Yeah, that was amazing.
So, yeah.
One question about that. I'm coming to South Africa. If I don't speak any of these languages but English, will I survive?
Oh yes, English is one of our official languages, so it'll be easy for you to travel around the country in all
So it's convenient, like
exactly in all
okay,
the
that's great.
provinces. You will be able to get served, get service, and communicate with locals easily and learn about the country and build friendships. People are very warm. Yeah, and you'll enjoy yourself, I think.
So another question, the last question for you too. So after listening to what Pearl just said, so how do you think the tourism sector could boost the people-to-people exchanges and also provide economic and employment opportunities to the countries?
The logic over here is very simple. Like if we talk about people-to-people exchanges, including tourism, the logic is very simple but very strong, right? When you have people-to-people exchanges, you have mutual understanding growing. When you have mutual understanding, you have mutual trust. And mutual trust is more important than gold and money in our world right now. Because when there's mutual trust, there is cooperation, opportunities for economic development and everything else, right? So basically, currently, people-to-people exchanges is the guarantee for improving the mutual trust and improving the cooperation. That simple logic proved itself totally right. I can give you a lot of examples in bilateral cooperations, or I can give you the vice versa examples why why China can just cooperate with the US right now. There's no trust. Because Washington says one thing, does another, right? If you improve the trust, then you can start cooperation. So people-to-people exchanges improve trust. Then you cooperate, then you have your economic benefits and everything else.
Yeah, if you have tourism, it's easy for people to go to countries like right now. I was talking about people coming to South Africa to witness for themselves what the country is like, and maybe put aside what they always read in the media and so on, and just have that personal experience. That will allow them to interact with locals. There we're having an exchange. If I go to your country and talk to you, I'm learning a bit more about your country and also seeing your country. That's an exchange, because I will go back to my hometown and tell people about what I've witnessed. And it will help promote your culture as I experienced it. And also with the internet and everything that's happening, people post about what they see, and others will love what you post about and want to come to your country. And so, I mean, if I post on Chinese social media platforms, people in China will be interested or will be enticed to go and see what this person is really talking about. I mean, is South Africa really like that? Let me go see for myself. So now there you are now building bridges and encouraging people to reach out, you know, and touch other countries or touch other cultures so that they know and learn, and also teach others about their own countries or about their own cultures. So we are building people-to-people interaction and connection, and that will build even bigger things. Trade. It'll be trade. People will start businesses and start encouraging others to start businesses. And in South Africa, we need a lot of job opportunities. So it will encourage young people to also get involved and start jobs. And maybe, especially the tourism industry, there are a lot of opportunities for small businesses that will, you know, promote the country. So I think that's another opportunity that's opening up with this BRICS Summit.
Jiyuan, do you have anything else?
Yeah, other than that, might be personally contributing to the tourism income in South Africa sometime soon, I hope.
That's also on my bucket list.
Yeah. And I think I totally agree with what my colleagues have said. I just want to add that people-to-people exchange, they expose both sides to things that haven't been learned before. As much as we media or social media, TikTok or whatever it is, as much as we post or write up things and post them on the internet, it's not comparable to what we experience in person. I know that really well because I spent nearly a decade in the United States, and now I'm back in China. So I totally understand how actually living among the people or just traveling gives you a totally different impression from what you've read online. It might not be all the good side, but all of those build up your experience and form your perception of the country.
Yes.
So I think that's incredibly important, and vice versa. They see how you behave in their country and they form perceptions of you and by extension your country.
Exactly. Well, those are all very insightful discussion from all of our three great guests today. Thank you all for being part of this great discussion. That was Pearl, Konstantin, and Xu Yawen. So that'll be all for this episode of Chat Lounge. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time.